Hello there and welcome once again to The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Meyers. We're here every week meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues on a show we call The Verdict.
Yeah, and today we've got an old friend, and I do mean that, old friend. Burns Hargis is our guest, the retiring president at Oklahoma State University and a longtime friend of ours. He's going to talk about all of what's been going on this last year or two recently at Oklahoma State, plus what he's planning on doing in the future.
All right.
We're going to be the first to know. A scoop.
It's coming up today on The Verdict. We'll be right back with Burns Hargis.
Right now, 6 feet can feel like a long ways away. But from 6 feet, we can still smile at each other. From our doorways and our stairways, from opposite sides of the street and opposite sides of the country. Through fear and frustrations, we can remind each other that we are still here for each other. Because we can still smile at each other. And we're not going anywhere.
Law enforcement runs in my family. My father and I combined have served as citizens of Oklahoma for half a century, and I'm proud to carry on the tradition. I'm Lieutenant Dwight Durant with the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, and I am Chickasaw. We all get into law enforcement for various reasons, but the main reason is because we have this need to help other people. The misperception is that we're out here stopping speeders and writing speeding tickets. That's a small portion of what we actually do in an 8-hour day. Putting on the uniform, going through the very intensive patrol school, succeeding through that and graduating, the pride that I had was more than I could ever imagine. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol is one of the finest institutions that we have, and I am honored to be a member of the Highway Patrol. I'm honored to be a citizen of the state of Oklahoma, and just as honored to be a citizen of the Chickasaw tribe.
See more stories about the Chickasaw people at profilesofanation.com.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Meyers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Well, as we indicated in the open, our guest today is Burns Hargis, the retiring but still president of Oklahoma State University. He's the 18th president of Oklahoma State University, only the second president of Oklahoma State to have actually been a student at Oklahoma State also. He's served as president for 13 years. He did his undergraduate work, as I indicated, at Oklahoma State, did his law work at the University of Oklahoma, and had a first career as a practicing lawyer for about 28 years. Then he became a banker, joining Bank of Oklahoma as vice chairman for about 11 years. And as I said, he has been the president of Oklahoma State for 13 years, and he's scheduled to retire July 1st of this year. He and his wife, Ann, have just done wonderful things at Oklahoma State, been very hands-on with the students and involved and accessible and popular. He's it's a great time to leave, Burns, when you're as popular as you are as president of Oklahoma State. But welcome back to visiting with us on The Verdict.
Thank you. I was adding up all those years you were talking about, and that gets pretty old. 13, 11, 28, goodness.
I did it on purpose, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm you know, that George Burns always said, leave the stage while they're still applauding. So I'm trying to leave the stage before I get lynched. And this last year has not been easy. Having to just think of all the stuff we've canceled, and I thought canceling spring break would get my car keyed for sure, but we got through it. Joe Harris and I have been holding hands through all this whole deal.
Well, and you know, it's been a year like no other.
That's an understatement.
And
yeah, you know, we started. I'm well, I'm on the NCAA board and on the Big 12 board, of course. And I just think back, we had finished the first round of the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City when we decided we were going to go with no fans. But then we canceled the whole thing. And of course, the same thing with March Madness, which by the way, was a $570 million decision. So we did have, NCAA had some business interruption insurance, but that seems like a decade ago, I must say. Then that's when Joe Harris and I decided that we really should bring the students back after spring break. So we went virtual, really we pivoted in about a week to all virtual, which was an incredible feat, but faculty and staff got it done. And then we worked all summer trying to figure out how we could have in-person classes. And so far, so good, knock on wood.
Yeah. Well, change is hard. And one way or another, universities changed about everything they could. Changed the athletics, they changed the academics, they changed the student housing aspect of it. And I'm guessing you heard from a lot of people, and not everybody that called you was telling you what a great job you were doing.
For sure. Well, and you overlay that with the George Floyd problems, his death, and just a lot of other conflicting currents that were going on at the same time. And somehow we managed to navigate them, but it's been it's really been a challenge, and it's been a very expensive challenge. Some of the stimulus money has offset some of the cost, but we've spent millions and millions of dollars in all kinds of things, not just PPE or ventilation or masks or social distancing. I mean, you name it. We've really had to feel our way through. And as I say, this semester we're pretty much in-person classes. And I think we've demonstrated that how important masks are because we have, and I'm knocking on wood again, we haven't had an in-classroom infection this whole time. So I'm worried about the variants, and so I think we still need to keep our guards up. But we're hopefully that light at the end of the tunnel is not an oncoming train.
Burns, put that fact you just gave us in perspective. You haven't had a single infection in a lengthy period of time, a semester. How many students are we talking about?
Well, all told, there's 24,000. I said in-person classes infection.
Right.
We've had people with COVID, and
oh sure.
One time, I think probably the most we ever had in quarantine was in the 70 or 80 range, and I think now we're down to like 4. Wow. So it's really been remarkable.
Yeah, masks work.
Masks work. I mean, I think they work even. I mean, I don't think you could social distance without a mask and avoid infections. Mm-hmm. I don't know where this 6 feet thing came from, but if somebody sneezes, it's probably 12 feet. And if you're behind somebody running, it's probably 30 feet.
Wow.
So you need to wear your mask.
In the introduction, Kent kind of divided your career up into the 3 segments, the attorney, the bank CEO, to the school president. Kind of discuss those 3 transitions of your life. What did you enjoy about each of them, and how do you reflect back?
Well, people are always talking about find your passion, and I really found my passion here at Oklahoma State when I was a student, because for the first time I'd moved so many times I'd never been really involved in a community in any way trying to make it better. So that was my first opportunity to do that, and I really loved it. You both of you know, if you're reasonably good at something and you work hard, your passion's going to find you. And so as a lawyer, I enjoyed other lawyers and judges and being friends with them, including Kent, of course, and you know, it was, the puzzles were enjoyable to work out. I mean, there were a lot of frustrations. You know, practicing law, you really don't realize how little control you have over your own time. Judges have control, opposing counsel, your clients. I mean, everybody's pulling, and that was an aspect of practicing law that I did not enjoy. But in fact, when I went to the bank, that was one of the hardest things to get used to. Oh, and of course, I don't miss keeping time slips. I want to emphasize that. It was, you know, after I went to the bank for about 2 or 3 years, I kept time slips. And I went, you're crazy. What are you doing this for? But the bank really gave me a platform to spend more time working in the community. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoyed that a lot. And I love Oklahoma City, and I love trying to make things better there. I will. So that was a real great deal for me. And then when this job came up, after I got up off the floor thinking everybody had lost their mind, I thought maybe there was an opportunity for me to try to help my alma mater be better. And so that's what happened. And I have to say that this has been probably the most enjoyable, until the last year, the most enjoyable time of Ann's in my life, because it's hard to understand the energy that's on a college campus. I mean, I was just like you all. I mean, I worked in tall buildings downtown, and you're just never around a lot of people this age, at kind of that 18 to 22 age. And the energy that they emit, I mean, it's just invigorating to be around them and watch them mature, because they really, the difference in a freshman and a senior is unbelievable. It's just remarkable. And trying to introduce them to the idea of community service. As a land-grant university, we're supposed to be all about service. And so we preach that a lot here. And this has just been a great time. And I think we've managed to have some success.
Well, when you look back at the relationships, I know you were on the periphery, it seemed like, in different roles of state government. What are your thoughts about state government in Oklahoma and the different roles that you played, and seen it from 3 different viewpoints?
Well, unfortunately, and this is something I may work on after I step down here, unfortunately, we just don't rank very well in a lot of indices, and I think that all starts with education, and the funding of education. I think is critical to the future of the state, and even back when I was practicing law, universities were supported much more generously than they are today. I mean, I'll give you an example. In 2010, so 11 years ago, the appropriation to OSU Stillwater was about $136 million. This past year, it was about $90 million. And that's not inflation adjusted.
Yeah, wow. So
we have disinvested in higher education percentage-wise more than any state in the union. So I think government has just over the years, from the time I was representing Allstate out at the legislature, there's just been a lessening of commitment to education. Mm-hmm. And I think that is manifesting itself in our income, and health rates, and all the rest. So I'm pretty frustrated. I'm glad, you know, the year I got here, 2008, the state decided to quit matching endowed shares dollar for dollar. And they gave us about 40 days and 40 nights to raise what we could. And that's when I went to Dallas. And, you know, I always say, well, if you need $100 million, what do you do? Well, you fly to Dallas and see Boone Pickens. And we got 100. He did 100 million for matching of others, and the others did 66. Well, there's still about, overall, counting OU, OSU, and a few of the others, there's about $151 million that has still not been matched. to this day. And one of my goals for these final months is to finally get that matched. And the only way I can do that is if the legislature appropriates the money for a bond issue. Mm-hmm. And Roger Thompson, who's the Appropriations and Budget Chairman in the Senate, and Kevin Wallace in the House are firmly behind this. I think the governor's behind it, and I think we might finally get that done. For OSU, that'll mean about $90 million in endowed shares, which will produce about $4.5 million per year for faculty, so we can be more competitive and retain good faculty.
All right.
So I think government. I think there's a lot of areas where we could have some real improvement.
Burns, hang on. We're going to go to a break and then have one more segment with you. You're watching The Verdict with Mick Cornett, Kent Meyers, and our guest, Burns Hargis. We'll be right back.
The Vet Hero office at the University of Central Oklahoma, it is a one-stop shop for veterans when they're trying to get their education.
I call it my encore job. I get to take care of veterans. We help them transition. I was that guy that transitioned after 24 years, and in the end, GI Bill is a benefit that those soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marine earned. It was the thing that made us the greatest country in the world coming out of World War II, and it will continue to do the same thing for this future generation of service members.
OU Law has a history and heritage that are unparalleled. At the University of Oklahoma College of Law, we empower our students to pursue the career of their dreams. We have the highest U.S. News ranking ever achieved by an Oklahoma law school. We are the first law school in the country to launch a college-wide digital initiative. And this year, our competition teams rank #2 in the nation. OU Law, generations of excellence, limitless possibilities.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Meyers and our guest, Burns Hargis. Kent?
Burns, before we get too far into this segment, Mick and I want to make sure that you give our best to Ann, and congratulations to both of you. I know a lot of your really spectacular success has been aided or facilitated by the first cowgirl, and we want to give her our regards.
I'll definitely do that. She has made a huge difference here.
Talk a little bit, if you will, about the search for your successor. How's that going to play out? What kind of timing? If you know, what's involved with that?
Yeah, I think. Well, I don't know who it is, but I know that it is imminent. I announced that I was going to step down on October 23rd. That was a very deliberate decision that we made almost a year before that, so they would have ample time to conduct a national search and name a president probably this month.
Oh.
And and it may not be that late into the month. And they've had a very deliberate and persistent national search, and they've had some great guests. In fact, they told me, we got a lot better panel this year than we had when you showed up. I didn't quite know how to take that, but so I think they're looking for a president. They'd love to find somebody who had OSU ties in some way. That's not these ties. It's being tied to the university. That would help, I think. I think the culture here is kind of maybe unique in that regard. And I think they need a fundraiser. I think they want a fundraiser too. With just what I've just said about resources from the state, this job requires you to get out and really work hard fundraising and telling the story of OSU and describing the needs. And for some people, they just don't like to do stuff like that. And frankly, I've never minded that. I kind of enjoy it because I always rationalize. I'm not asking for myself. I'm asking for something that's worthwhile. just like Kent's Lawyers for Children. So so they, and they need somebody that I think can be certainly an academic. Most of the time it is an academic, but they need some business experience. I think that's important. This is a big operation. It's about $1.2 billion in annual operating expenses, and a lot of moving parts. 8,000 or 9,000 employees. So having managed something complex would be very helpful. And so I think we'll have somebody pretty quick.
I think that leads me into my question, because as you mentioned, you did not come from the academic side, and I wonder, how has your relationship been with the faculty over these 13 years?
It's been surprisingly good, and I think some of that is because I don't get into their business much. I mean, because I don't know much about their business. I make it a point to hire a very talented provost. Gary Sandifer, our current provost, is stepping down, but he got a degree at OU, then he got a degree at Stanford, and he spent 30 years at Wisconsin, 10 as dean of College of Letters and Sciences, which is bigger. That school, that college is bigger than OSU or OU. Wow. And I couldn't believe he wanted to come to Oklahoma until I found out he was a full-blood Chickasaw and grew up in Medill. So I've always had really good provosts, and that makes all the difference on the academic side. I made a big mistake early on. I canceled some research of coincidentally OU baboons, and I won't go into the story. We don't have time. But I'll just tell you what I learned. Yeah, when they said they were OU baboons, I said, "Is this an Aggie joke or what's going on?" but I actually the mistake I made was I didn't go through the process of talking to everybody I should have talked to. I just made the decision, and you can't do that in higher education. This is a very political place. Shared governance is a strong concept, and it's not just a idle chatter. It really is important, and I didn't do that, and I learned the hard way. So you've got to take the time to be collaborative and work with everybody you can, and they'll accept your decision if you do that, because it was the right decision. I just made it the wrong way. But the Higher Learning Commission was here probably 2 years ago, and they actually were puzzled that the faculty seemed so content.
like they should be outraged.
Like that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that a problem?
Well, we just have a little bit under a minute left, Burns. I was startled by the fact that a quarter of all OSU students that have ever attended the university came through on your watch. That obviously speaks well for your ability to attract good students that can stay around a while. What's been your experience with the student body?
Well, terrific. I just love them. And, we've got about 34% of our student body is from Texas. And, not Texas, out of state. Most of those are from Texas. And, they come up here, and I don't know if they expect a corral and a barn, but they're shocked when they get here. Thanks to our great crew out there, we have the campus looks fabulous, and that's a strong attraction.
Kent and Burns, we gotta head to our final break. So Burns, thanks for being on the show, and thanks for all your years of service to Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's really
Great
good
to be with you guys.
Good to see you again.
And Kent and I'll have a final word.
I'll be seeing you more of you, I hope.
Good.
It used to be okay in hospitals. It used to be okay in movie theaters. It was okay in classrooms, restaurants, and airplanes. But thanks to a greater understanding of the dangers, that's not okay anymore. So now that we know secondhand smoke causes lifelong health problems, Why is it still okay to smoke with children in the car? Bottom line, it's not okay. Let's get serious about protecting kids. Join the fight at stopswithme.com.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
You have children coming from a different lifestyle, different mindset. You have to open your arms and really do what you have to do to have that child become a part of your family. And if it's more patience, that's what you do. Kids gotta know they can trust you. And that's what we try to do with these kids.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Meyers. Burns Hargis, such a good friend of ours and great service to the state.
Oh, it really is. He's been a friend of mine since he started practicing law, and we know how long ago that was. He's a great guy and a very capable individual.
And you were making, as you made notes for this show, you were commenting that Burns Hargis, Mike Holder, Sherry Cole, Lon Kruger, all retiring basically in the same time frame. You can't help but wonder, did COVID just, wear everybody out? I know we got to go, and I don't give you a chance to comment on that. Maybe another show. That's going to do it. Thanks for joining us. Look at our website, theverdict.tv, and we'll see you next week right here on The Verdict.